Hey there, folks. Welcome to Shelf Life. I'm Kimberly Dykeman. Now, if you've been waiting for the perfect 21st century cyber scam thriller to show up, I think I've got it for you. It's called The Diary of a Deadman, and it's by Walter Krumm. Please give a warm welcome to Walter Krumm.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming by. I gotta shake your hand because this was a killer book, no pun intended. It was awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna say something sort of silly right now, but you're like a good old guy, you know, real estate dude in Middle Ohio. You're really involved with your church, and out of left field comes this cyber thriller that's just insane. Where did it come from? I gotta know.
Well, there was a time in my life where I needed another creative outlet. Most of my life I've spent in theater, and I write a lot of sketches and different dramas and stuff for church. But I went through a little window of time where I didn't do that, and I happened to I was reading some books that inspired me, and I thought, you know, I could probably do that. So one small idea came to me. Really, I tend to kind of think in dramatic moments. So I was thinking about the moment when someone who has some sins to cover up receives an envelope with pictures in them that are incriminating. Okay. And just that cold sweat that happens to a person when they're afraid that they're going to be exposed.
Exactly.
And from there, I just let it brew in my head for maybe 6 months to a year. How did that happen, and what is he going to do about it? Never ended up putting pictures in an envelope, but it inspired the story, and I just let it write itself.
Which is an interesting way of putting it, actually, because most people think an author sits down and they just take on the task and force it out of themselves, but it's almost as if not only did the story write you, but the characters as well, you had said. So can we dive into a little bit about the story and the characters themselves?
Sure. Diary of a Deadman is about a man who chooses to have an affair with a woman that he meets online. And when he gets to the hotel for their very first encounter, he walks into the room, shuts it behind him, turns and finds waiting on the bed her dead body. And because he's desperate to cover it up, he makes some poor choices. And the problem is that people are watching him, taking pictures.
Everywhere.
Oh. Yeah. So he finds himself in the middle of a blackmail operation that preys on men who are willing to cheat on their wives.
The irony here is that it never actually happened. The cheating, technically, so this is, as you put, I think you said, a clean thrill, and that act never really even happened.
Right. The topic matter is very spicy, but it's very clean. And no, he doesn't ever actually go through with it. He just intended to.
Now, the very beginning of this book, in the prologue, you just threw out the word temptation. Now, why do you do that? Is that to flick people in the noggin to say, like, pay attention because this is something everyone deals with? Is that what you wanted to do at first, to prep them, so to speak?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess I wanted to give the feel that this was a book written by the man who ends up being the dead man. I wanted them to sort of feel his warning, because the whole root of the problem is in this book his struggle with temptation, and it plays itself out in his choice to have the affair and then get mixed up in all kinds of things. But it always starts. There's a quote from my book. I think I say something to the effect that, you know, terrible circumstances can always be traced back to one poor decision. And temptation just really has a way, you know, we flirt with it, we get a little close, we say, well, I'll never go through with this or that, but we still kind of like to tease ourselves a little bit.
We even think about what would the circumstance, or what would the repercussions be,
right.
So we look beyond it.
Yeah.
I know.
And the more you allow yourself to think on that, the closer you come to going through with something that you probably never thought you were capable of.
Right.
And temptation just has a real way of grabbing a hold very, very subtly, because it doesn't pursue us. We end up kind of flirting with it, but it'll suck us in on whatever that area of temptation is in our lives. In this book, you know, the particular area of temptation is lust, but My hope is that that there's an underlying message for those who may have ears to hear, that will help them, maybe give them a message of hope that there is a voice that we have against any one particular form of temptation.
Right.
For some people it may be eating too much, or any number of things. So it's never been my style to hit people over the head with a message, and this does not do that. It's a fun book, and if you aren't looking for a message, you won't even see it. But if you're into searching for a deeper meaning, I think there is one.
So for folks that are going into chat rooms and trying to befriend folks, and perhaps are looking for love in the world of the internet, what's some advice you've got to share with these folks, or some tips per se that will guide them in a safe direction so they're not going to be taken?
I think the the biggest thing to keep in mind is to just realize that you don't know for sure who you're talking to. The cute 5'4" brunette with the dark brown eyes and the sweet little demeanor could be, a guy in Chicago sitting in his boxer shorts. I mean, it just could be
smoking a cigar. This is a good one, right?
Right. Yeah, you just never know for sure who you're talking to, and a picture doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right.
So that's really, if you keep that one thing in mind, it will really kind of keep you from making a lot of mistakes. But there are some other, more specific things that you need to look for, especially when you're chatting. The common scams that are going on today usually are being pulled off by people from other countries.
Really?
So look for poor grammar in the chat, or very vague answers, or bad spelling, or just things that kind of tip you off that this person maybe doesn't know the language as well. And I'm not trying to bunch it in, but that's actually very common.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing is to really be careful of people who very quickly start to tell you they love you, or move the relationship forward a little too fast, even though you've never spoken on the phone or met in person. The fact that they don't want to speak on the phone or meet in person, or the fact that they're keeping this whole thing through instant messaging and email, is usually a red flag. People, if they're really looking for a relationship, kind of want to be progressing with that.
Yeah.
But then again, you do need to be careful. I've even read some tips where they recommend to get a disposable cell phone, so that when you do move to the phone call, and if something doesn't work out, or the person turns out to be maybe a little obsessed or something, you can get rid of the phone and get a different number, and things like that.
That makes sense. And I would think even more so if you realize that they're asking all the questions and having you put yourself out there versus them filling you in on who they are and what they're doing.
Right. They would usually avoid too much detail. So if you are asking them detailed questions about them, and they're not willing to talk to you about that, then they're really not looking to get to know you anyways, or to be known. So that's probably a good reason to kind of move on to somebody else. And then the biggest thing is that if, no matter who they are, never agree to exchange money, or loan them money, or send them money for a plane ticket. Yeah,
it
so
just starts
if it involves money,
messy.
move on, because it's probably not right.
Well, thank you for taking the time. I'm sure people are going to run to the store if they haven't picked up a copy yet and get this, hopefully get on an email list. And how would they go about doing that? Do you have a specific website you want to send them to?
I have a website. They can just go to diaryofadeadman.com, and that will forward them to my personal website that has all the information, links to go buy it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
And, they can read a little bit. Actually, the first chapter of the book is on that website if they want to get a little teaser.
Guys need to go do that. Walter, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait for the next one to come on. You've got a fan right here.
I'm
definitely.
glad. Thank you so much.
Walter Krumm, Diary of a Deadman. Run out and get it. It's juicy. Love it. Anyway, again, I'm Kimberly Dykeman. You've been watching Shelf Life. We look forward to seeing you again real soon with some more awesome authors. Till then, take care.